Hey, sports fans, it's Mo Carter. Every high school football team in the Tennessee Valley has a goal of hoisting up a blue map at this year's Super 7 in Birmingham. And in order to get there, you have to do work in the off-season. This summer, the Fox 54 sports team chatted with a number of squads about their upcoming season. And you can check out some of your favorite teams right now on another edition of the First Down Friday Night Preview Series.
Well, we've really focused on a lot of competition, and that's, every year we have exit meetings with all the players, and that's one thing they kind of all said they wanted more competition in the summer. So we've really, worked hard and kind of, tried to clinic with all the right people on, how can we create that? We're a 3A school, we got 45 players. How can we create that, kind of experience, kind of like a 6A school would? And I feel like we've done a good job of doing that, where we've really competed all summer against each other. And that started in the spring. We had 10 days of the 2-hour rule or whatever in the spring, and that was very good to us. Then we've had, I guess, 19 total days in the summer that we've really gotten after each other, and had a lot of, probably done more OTAs and 7-on-7s than we've ever done. So that's been very important. We've also, felt like we've been able to run the ball pretty successfully, and I felt like one of the things we needed to get better is, being able to throw it a little bit. And we've really worked hard on that this offseason. That goes back from me as a coach and our staff, and just in spending more time on it. And I feel like that, we've surrounded ourselves with a lot of good people. I've tried to, connect myself with a lot of good people to get better at that. And we're about to focus a lot more on situations and things like the red zone. The red zone, we weren't very successful last year. We'd get inside the 40 and then get in the red zone. We couldn't come away with points. And that's something this next year we're going to do something a little different. We're going to make sure that we're successful, in that area. And so, all in all, I just feel like these kids have really bought in terms of, they want to compete and they don't want it to be easy. And it hasn't been, and they're better for it right now. And I think we're in a good spot going into fall camp.
Coach, I did want to ask you, mentioning the red zone. I know that I can see some of the frustration from last season on the sideline. Walk us through just some of the things you all just really try to input there to be able to cash in there when you get inside the red zone.
Well, I think a lot of that comes back. Sometimes, look, you can call a play, and sometimes, whoever has the pen last, so to speak, as a coach is going to win. Sometimes sometimes they just win, because they had a good call and it just worked out. But I feel like we could be a lot more creative in how we go about some of those situational game planning. And that was kind of one of the number one things that, I as a coach and our offensive staff were working on this offseason was, how can we do that? And we've got connected with, guys like a guy like Noah Mazzoni, who is a, perennial SEC coordinator in the past. And, he's been really good to me and really helped us. And, and then just other coaches and stuff as well. And these kids just buying into the process of it. Like, hey, you got to approach a different situation. It's not always going to be P&10 from the 40, It's always going to be different, and learning those situations. And I feel like we've always done a good job of, preparing for a lot of, weird situations, whether it be, end of the game, we got to take a safety, that type of deal. But this is something we're going to take a little step further to really focus on that and focus on trying to create, what we call it training, practice, trying to make it to where it's more lifelike, to where, we're trying to create 5-play drives and swap it around to where a lot of times that's how it's going to be. So instead of going out there and scripting 16 plays and just going through the script, I don't get any better that way. They don't get any better that way. So we're trying to create things more lifelike in how we do them.
So the players, real Cody and all y'all real quick, tell us about the community support that y'all have out there in Green Hill. And I think, isn't there somebody that maybe even prepares pregame meals for you guys? What about it?
I think it's very nice having all that support from everybody. Every game we eat Curtis's before, so pretty nice.
We always eat Curtis's for the game, and then the stands are always packed out with people, so the community really likes coming out and supporting us.
Always enjoy, I'll be out and about in Green Hill, and somebody will ask me if I'm ready for Friday night, and I always just, yes sir, no ma'am. Yes, ma'am. No, ma'am.
Yeah, it better be yes.
Yes. Yes, ma'am.
Green Hill's like a big family. The whole community is just like a big family. It's great.
You just mentioned Friday nights. When the Friday night lights come on for you guys, what's going through your head as a player?
Go win.
Well, at Rogers, it's always been I guess you can say we're a hard-nosed football team, tough, rough. Everybody's going to leave with a scratch or a bruise when they come and play us. So, that's always our goal, go out there and play hard, win.
Y'all have a week 5 bye this year, like y'all had last year. Y'all started 4-1 last year and finished 3-2 after the bye. How does the bye week come in midseason help y'all, especially with the Marsville, Colbert High, Florida, County stretch out of the bye?
I always try to schedule to where we have it right in the middle because, just like they said, we're a physical football team, at least we try to be. And when you play that way, you're going to get, bumps and bruises and stuff like that. And so anytime you can have a week to kind of, heal your injuries, your bumps and bruises, we try not to. And that's something that I've, kind of tried to research more on. Like to me, we play Mars Hill after the bye. Like to spend 2 weeks on them, to me, I don't think is the best thing to do because sometimes you got to spend a little time on yourself. And there's things that we need to do better. And if we can execute what we're supposed to do, then, whoever we play will be in a better position. And so, we try to do that, try to heal up, try to get real good mental, reps and rest, and then come ready to go the next week. And, to me, that's the perfect time of the year to have a bye is right there in the middle because you're always going to have injuries and stuff.
Coach, what makes coaching this group special?
Well, y'all said it. I've been here. This will be my 5th year. These guys were in the 8th grade. I remember when he threw a football and took out a light in the 8th grade in the junior high locker room, and they blamed it on somebody else. And, because Cody's always been one that doesn't really get in trouble, and so he kind of got away with it a little bit. But, we've been together a long time, and I think these guys have done a whole lot to really improve, not only as players but as men throughout, from 8th grade on. And I think that they're very tight-knit, and I think that, they have created, they have created kind of a culture here that everyone's kind of together. And sometimes it's not that way. Sometimes you have cliques and stuff. I was just telling somebody out there, sometimes you have cliques and in school and stuff like that because that's just how society is. And I don't really feel like we have that in our locker room right now. And it's a large part because of these guys and our juniors as well. Everyone just kind of gets along, and everyone's kind of got the same goals and stuff like that. And I can preach and say this and that, which they'll tell you I do it a lot, but they've got to do it, and that they have really led by example. And I'm very proud of these 4 and the rest of them, just as far as who they've become as men. I think they're all really good players. Like these 2 are getting recruited a little bit. He's got an offer from Michael Vick at Norfolk State, and that doesn't happen by accident. People don't just call Green Hill asking for players a lot. But these guys have worked really hard to earn that opportunity. And so I'm really proud of them, and I can't wait to see what they do this fall.
A brand new season of Fox 54's First Down Friday Night begins on Friday, August the 22nd on Fox 54 and the Fox 54 Plus app.